Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Adushka Balasurya.
And I'm Meenakshi Ratnasekara.
I'm Jurong Parthi, standing live from the Parliamentary Complex. Join me later on in the news for an in-depth report on the no-confidence motion.
Let's start off the news with a look at your headlines. No confidence motion brought forward citing the government's inability to regulate and eradicate the drug menace in the country, defeated. 10 office trains cancelled as locomotive engineers failed to report to work. Leave of all electric power set drivers cancelled with immediate effect. President Rajapaksa re-invites the UN Secretary General to visit Sri Lanka to witness firsthand the progress the country has made. Will India's Congress party also lose the opposition leadership? Now, in your top story tonight, the no-confidence motion which was tabled in Parliament by the United National Party yesterday was defeated by 94 votes today. Let's now cross over to Shah in Jurong Parthi live at the Parliamentary Complex for more.
Well, thank you very much. The no-confidence motion, which was tabled in Parliament by the United National Party yesterday, was defeated by 94 votes today. The vote on the no-confidence motion was held earlier today, and 151 parliamentarians voted against the no-confidence motion, while 57 parliamentarians voted for the motion. The UNP brought forward the no-confidence motion, citing the government's inability to regulate and eradicate the drug menace in the country. Now, while several constituent parties of the government, including the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, the Jatika Hela Urumaya, the National Freedom Front and the leftist parties expressed dissatisfaction prior to the vote on certain aspects of the government, these parties did not vote in favour of the no-confidence motion. Let's now take a look at the views expressed in Parliament during the debates on the no-confidence motion against the government.
This is a more dangerous threat to the country than terrorism. That is why the UNP brought forward this no-confidence motion. The country has been disgraced, not by our no-confidence motion, but by the actions of the government. The demand for heroin in Sri Lanka has risen to 1,000 kilograms a year.
In 1978, the open market economy was introduced. Drugs began to come into the country by 1980. This is how it started. By 1988, the South Asian countries reached a consensus and we signed it as well. We are not saying there are no shortcomings. We might have failed. However, this is a global issue.
We believe that state patronage is being received to spread the drug trade in the country. The government's policy of eradicating drugs within 3 years is no more. However much you speak of Matata Tita, there is plenty of drugs around.
The opposition does not have a proper point to attack the government. They are using an isolated issue. This is a global issue, especially in countries which had terrorism. Look at the countries in our region. The biggest trade in all countries which had terrorism is drugs. This issue is the same in the African countries, Middle Eastern countries, as well as in Asia.
On one hand, they speak of development. However, the development of the drug trade has surpassed infrastructure development. That is why businesses like casinos are coming into the country. Today, the people are watching proceedings in Parliament and thinking to themselves what the people they appointed are talking about. We should reach a decision on this issue in Parliament.
This no-confidence motion is based on drugs entering the country and the drug trade. The parliamentarians who spoke today are speaking as if they are infants who are new to Parliament. They think that drugs came into the country yesterday.
In another notable turn of events, the National Freedom Front, a constituent party of the ruling UPFA, abstained from voting on the no-confidence motion against the government in Parliament today. Now, speaking the news first on our special segment Newsline prior to the vote on the no-confidence motion, NFF spokesperson Mohammad Muzammil clarified his party stance.
We will abstain from voting.
Why are you abstaining?
We are abstaining because we do not accept that the UNP, which has presented this motion, has done so with good intentions. At the same time, this no confidence motion has been narrowed to show that the government has failed.
You accept that this menace has spread throughout the country. The National Freedom Front accepts that it is wrong. If that is the case, why can you not see the wrong as the wrong and vote in parliament?
One is that the government has arrested others who have brought in narcotics. That is a good thing. But the government has failed to cut this off at the source, where it expands from. They have failed to capture them. They have failed to implement the economic changes that they were mandated to implement in 2005.
Do you not feel that staying silent in the face of something wrong is equivalent to enforcing it?
We have never stayed silent in the face of wrong. At times when we had to speak about the wrong from within, we did so. At times when we needed to talk about it in public with society, we have done so.
Now, a number of political parties, including the JVP, criticized the actions of the NFF during the no confidence motion.
අසීරුකාවක් නැතිකම් මේ තියෙන්නේ. එක පැත්තකින් අමාත් ඇමති වරප්‍රසාද ටික ඕනි. ඒවා භුක්ති විඳලා මේක läගගෙන.
This shows the lack of a backbone. On one hand, they are enjoying the benefits of the ministerial portfolio. On the other hand, they are making nationalist statements and creating comic relief because are losing their grip on power and becoming unpopular. These actions are the only things providing temporary solutions to this issue. These actions also prevents the concentration of a public force against the government. When the Gazette notification on casinos was released, he didn't say anything. Later he criticizes it public. You might have been able to see him recently berating the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance come under the Minister of Finance, who is incidentally the President. He doesn't have the backbone to criticize the Minister of Finance, so he is criticizing the Secretary. Vimal Weerawansa criticizes various individuals including PB Jasundara, but the government does not respond. It is very clear who wrote this script and who is directing this play.
කෝ ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ඒකට ප්‍රතිචාරයක් නැහැනේ. හරි පැහැදිලි තිර රචනය කාගේද අධ්‍යක්ෂණය කාගේද කියලා.
මේක හරියට ගෑනු කමටත් නැහැ පිරිමි කමටත් නැති වැඩක් නේ. විමල් වීරවංශයට කියනවා ඔය ආණ්ඩුව ඇතුළේ තව විපක්ෂයක් හදන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ ආණ්ඩුවට ආරංචි වෙලා තියෙනවා ආණ්ඩුවේ
ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ ඇමතිවරු ඔක්කොම එක්කව වෙලා වෙනම කණ්ඩායමක් වශයෙන්
Vimal Veerawansa is saying that they need to create an opposition within the government. That means the government has realized that their senior ministers have met on a number of occasions and have reached a decision that this government needs to come to an end. The government quickly gave Vimal Veerawansa the contract to do what Rauf Hakim is doing. While speaking in Erabur, Hakim says that the time has come to move away from the government. Then today he says that the UNP has done something wrong by presenting a no confidence motion and that they would take steps to protect the government.
ඒ ප්‍රකාශ කරලා හද ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂේ වැරදි වැඩක් කරලා තියෙනවා ආණ්ඩුවට විරුද්ධව දෝෂාභියෝගයක් ගෙනලා තියෙන එක විශ්වාස භංගයක් ගෙනලා තියෙන එක අපි ආණ්ඩුවත් එක්ක ඉන්නවා මේ ආණ්ඩුව ආරක්ෂා කරන්න කියලා කියනවා අනිත් පැත්තෙන්.
Now the JHU, which is the constituent party of the ruling alliance, abstained from voting for the no confidence motion. They later explained their stance during a media briefing.
මේ යෝජනාවේ තියෙන ඇතම් කරුණු සම්බන්ධයෙන්
It is the JHU that created public awareness on some of the points contained in this proposal. We showed the government which path they should take when dealing with such issues. We have an issue on how ethical it is for the UNP to stand for this issue. If the UNP is trying to topple this government based on this issue, we will not allow it. Because they are the same people who introduced heroin to the country. They are the people who strengthened terrorism, and besides, they have no proper policy, nor do they have a sense of democracy. We know that this is not something impossible. Following the murder of Bharata Lakshman Premachandra, drugs in the country disappeared for several weeks. There was a shortage and suddenly there were no drugs. That means it can be controlled if necessary.
Well, that's it from here from the Parliamentary Complex. I'm Shahin Jarangpati. It's back to the main news desk.
Thank you very much, Shahin. Well, Parliamentarian J. Sri Ranga, who is the General Secretary of the Citizens Front, was also among the members who voted in favour of the no confidence motion against the government that was taken up for vote today.
Honorable J. Sri Ranga.
Meanwhile, on our online forums, the public voiced their own opinions on this motion. On a related note, speaking to Newsfirst, attorney at law Maithri Gunaratne commented on the absence of the UNP Leadership Council chairman Karu Jayasuriya when the vote was taken up in Parliament.
Today, when the United National Party brought a no confidence motion against the government, a notable absentee was Mr. Karu Jayasuriya. Now, he is the chairman of the Leadership Council, a very important occasion in Parliament. But he chooses not to attend the parliamentary session. Now, this is not a way a responsible politician should act. Mr. Karu Jayasuriya has been doing this repeatedly. When the no confidence motion was debated in Parliament, when they had to vote, Mr. Karu Jayasuriya was not present. So this is the status quo. Unfortunately, it is sad that the UNP has been pulled down to this level due to the irresponsible behavior.
Welcome back watching Primetime News. Now, President Mahinda Rajapaksa has invited UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to visit Sri Lanka once again to witness firsthand the progress the country has made. The President extended this invitation when he met the UN Secretary General on the sidelines of the 4th summit of the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia, or CICA, currently underway in Shanghai, China.
A communique issued by the presidential spokesperson and international media unit notes that President Rajapaksa had briefed the UN Secretary General on the progress that has been made in Sri Lanka since Ban Ki-moon's last visit in 2009. The President also informed the Secretary General that Sri Lanka has implemented 30% of the recommendations made by the LLRC. He said that time was needed to resolve problems pertaining to land ownership problems. The President had further assured Ban Ki-moon that Sri Lanka is committed to a domestic process to address allegations of certain incidents that allegedly transpired during the war. Noting that an international inquiry is not in line with the vision of the Sri Lankan people, the President had further pointed out the contradictions of paragraph 2 and 10 of the UN Human Rights Council resolution on Sri Lanka. The President also addressed the 4th CICA summit in Shanghai, China today.
With the path made clear for Narendra Modi to become the next Indian Prime Minister, much debate has come to light as to who will be the opposition leader of the 16th Indian Parliament. The Indian Congress Party, which is home to the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty, is now faced with a new crisis in Parliament to decide who will be appointed as the opposition leader. At the recently concluded elections, the Congress Party failed to secure 10% of the required seats at the Lok Sabha to secure the post of opposition leader.
The BJP-led NDA secured a resounding victory at the recent elections in India, securing 336 seats in Parliament, with the BJP claiming 282 seats by itself. Meanwhile, the Congress Party-led United Progressive Alliance secured a total of 59 seats, of which the Congress solely claimed 44, resulting in the most disastrous defeat to be inflicted on the Congress Party. The ADMK led by Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha Jayaraman claimed 37 seats at the polls, while the All India Trinamool Congress led by the Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, secured 34 seats. Meanwhile, the Biju Janata Dal Party led by Chief Minister of Odisha, Navin Patnaik, secured 20 seats at the polls. According to the 1998 amendment of the Indian parliamentary law, any given party, excluding the one that wins the elections, needs to secure 10% of the 543 seats in parliament to claim the post of opposition leader. However, a new crisis has arisen within the Indian Parliament itself, as no party has been able to secure the minimum 10% of the seats. If the ADMK of Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha Jayaraman and the All India Trinamool Congress led by the Chief Minister of West Bengal Mamata Banerjee merge, their total number of seats in Parliament would be 71. According to reports, both parties are having discussions of merging so as to secure the position of the opposition leader, as the unification would ensure their total number of seats to rise above the 59 claimed by the Congress party. The Biju Janata Dal party led by Chief Minister of Odisha Navin Patnaik is yet to announce which side it would support. In 1999, the Congress's tally in the Lok Sabha plunged to 114, and Sonia Gandhi, who became Congress president less than a year earlier, took up the challenge of reviving her party, agreeing to don the role of leader of the opposition of the Lok Sabha. According to sources, neither Sonia Gandhi or Vice President of the Congress, Rahul Gandhi, are keen on accepting the post of opposition leader of the Congress party. Indications are that Union Minister Kamal Nath, who won his 9th parliamentary election from Chhindwara in the Lok Sabha polls, would be asked to take over the role. It has been reported that the General Secretary of the MDMK, Y. Gopalaswamy, also known as Waiko, has requested Narendra Modi not to act in the same manner as the Congress did on the issue of the Tamils in Sri Lanka.
Modi! Isala Bautarang Avilla Baleta. Henisa Modi Radang, Tamil Nadu Lady Apalu.
Modi has received a majority vote. Therefore, Modi does not require Tamil Nadu. Who is saying this? Is it Modi? They have already agreed to work together. Mamata Banerjee and Jayalalitha are talking of forming an alliance. They are discussing whether to be the opposition of the Indian Parliament. If so, then the opposition will be Jayalalitha's party and not the Congress. Then they will work with Modi. These people think that they will be able to invite Modi to temple trees and then teach him what to do after giving him a present. That will not happen. He is not that stupid.
මොකද මේ ත්‍යාග දීලා කෝපි දීලා කෝපි පොවලා ටියුෂන් දීලා යවන්න පුළුවන් කියලා හිතනවා අනේ ඒක නම් වෙන්නේ නැහැ එච්චර මෝඩ නෙවෙයි යා.
Come back to the news, and it's now time for our special segment, Crime Watch.
A teacher attached to a prominent school in Colombo 4 died after hanging himself in the school's hostel. The body was found based on information received by the police emergency unit. The wife of the deceased had telephoned him the previous night. As he had not responded, the wife had later informed another teacher in the school. The body was discovered upon inspection of the school's hostel by another teacher.
He had not signed in on Tuesday, so everyone thought that he was on leave. The master had come in the night to check on him. The body was discovered at around 11 p.m. yesterday when his room was checked. He was a member of the Ratnam Club for 15 years. He was a very talented player.
The police stated that the deceased was a 37-year-old resident of Kuliyapitiya.
He spoke with his children over the phone on Monday evening as well. He calls every day in the morning around 7:30 to find out whether the children went to school. On Tuesday, he did not call, so we looked into it.
The Fort Magistrate carried out the magisterial inquiry and the body was later taken to the police mortuary.
The case against 6 individuals, including the chairman of the Tangol Pradesh Sabha, Pushpakumara Vidana Patirana, pertaining to the murder of British national Khurram Sheikh and the gang rape of his Russian girlfriend Victoria Alexandrovna, was taken up in court today. Testifying in court, Judicial Medical Officer of the Karapitiya Hospital submitted that when Victoria Alexandrovna was brought for tests, she was naked, noting that someone had dressed her in a yellow t-shirt. The Judicial Medical Officer further said that she carefully examined her for signs of rape and added that there were 9 wounds in Alexandrovna's body. She further noted that she realized Alexandrovna to be in agony during the medical examination. The Judicial Medical Officer made these statements responding to the cross-examination today. The case will be taken up in court tomorrow.
Moving to other news, the 9th edition of the Radio Asia Conference will commence in Colombo tomorrow. Radio Asia 2014, organized by the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union, is hosted by MTV, NBC and Newsfirst. The 3-day conference will work off in Colombo tomorrow under the theme, It's All About Content, Positioning New Radio in the Knowledge Society. The conference, hosted by MTV, NBC and Newsfirst, will see the participation of broadcasters from across the Asia-Pacific region and will feature many pre-eminent speakers. The three-day conference will also feature 4 workshops and will focus on topics including storytelling in radio, generating new revenue through new media facilitators, engaging radio audiences, radio as an ICT role model for technology innovation and radio journalism and social media. And parallel to the Radio Asia 2014 conference, the ABU Radio Song Festival 2014 Gala Night, an international festival celebrating the love of music, bringing together fresh, young, unsigned musicians from across 9 countries, will be held at Stein Studios in Ratmalana on Friday.
In business news, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank has approved the implementation of a credit guarantee scheme on behalf of the government for pawning advances granted by licensed banks in order to support lending against gold articles. The Monetary Board has also approved an allocation of 500 million rupees from the Central Bank as the seed fund to support the credit guarantee scheme.
The CBSL says this scheme is expected to address the significant reduction in pawning advances that had arisen as a result of the decline in gold prices in the international market since early 2013. Further, as these advances have been predominantly used to fund agriculture and the SME sectors of the economy, the authorities were of the view that pawning advances need to continue so as to provide the required funds to support such economic activities. In the meantime, the attention of the central bank was also drawn to the present loan-to-value ratio of around 65% and high rates of interest charged on pawning advances, which had further dampened the pawning credit activities.
To participate to this credit guarantee scheme, the loan-to-value ratio has to be increased to 80% so that the borrowers get more credit. And also, the interest rate has been kept at 16%. It should not exceed 16% per annum. And also, licensed commercial banks, if they are participating to this credit guarantee scheme, they have to pay a premium of 1% of the pawning advance.
In more local news, an elephant fell into the ZD Canal carrying water from the Maduru Oya in Polonnaruwa to the Mahaweli B zone last evening. Our correspondent stated that there have been 4 wild elephants roaming in the area surrounding the Veerana village and that the elephant that had fallen into the canal was one of them. However, the wildlife officials of the Vaharagala in Arlagambila area and the villagers were able to rescue the elephant this morning.
Now, twin car bombings that exploded at a crowded bus terminal and market in Nigeria's central city of Jos have killed at least 118 people. The National Emergency Management Agency said fires raged in buildings after the blasts and it expected more bodies to be found. The following footage contains graphic content. Viewer discretion is advised. The bombings were concealed in a truck and in a minibus. The second blast killed some of the rescue workers who had rushed to the scene, which was obscured by billows of black smoke. President Goodluck Jonathan condemned the blasts, calling the perpetrators cruel and evil. According to the reports from the ground, suspicion has fallen on the insurgent group Boko Haram. Boko Haram grabbed the world headlines with the abduction of more than 200 schoolgirls a month ago from a remote village in the northeast. Jos has been relatively free of attacks from Boko Haram, but the group claimed responsibility for a bomb in a church in the Highland city as well as 2 other places on Christmas Day in 2011. The blasts occurred 15 minutes apart in the afternoon, burning several shops to the ground, shattering windows. Now joined by our correspondent in Abuja, Hamzat Lawal, for more details on the aftermath of the bombings.
But from eyewitness, they have identified 118 body counts and counting, because due to the impact of the bomb, a building collapsed, and it is believed that a lot of people were trapped in that building. So at the moment, the National Emergency Management Agency with other disaster organizations are still evacuating bodies and are still searching for survival victims or dead bodies to be sent to the morgue so their respective family can come and claim their bodies. This is Hamzat Lawal, link from Nigeria.
Now switching quickly back into some local news, the Railway Control Room noted earlier this evening that several scheduled office trains will be delayed as a group of locomotive engineers had not reported to work. The Railway Control Room adds that all office trains operated on time this morning. However, the Rajarata Rajana service from Vavuniya to Mathura was an hour late in arriving at the Colombo Fort railway station. Meanwhile, the Locomotive Operating Engineers Union submitted a written demand to the Department of Railways today for their security to be ensured while on duty.
10 office trains were cancelled this evening as a result of a group of engineers not reporting to work. The Railway Control Room says that several services on the main, coastal and Kalani Valley lines were cancelled. This includes services operating from the Colombo Fort to Morotua, Ragama, Polgahawela, Waga, Mirigama and Alutgama.
There is a train to Panudura at 4:35. I usually get off in Alutgama. However, when I came to the train station, they said the train had been cancelled. We are stranded here. We don't know when a train will come.
The Railway Control Room, however, noted that long-distance services would operate as usual. Meanwhile, a group of passengers had allegedly attempted to assault the engineer on the night mail train to Badulla. The train was to depart the Colombo Fort railway station at 8 o'clock last night. The Railway Control Room said that the train was delayed by 35 minutes as it had taken longer than expected to load the mail sacks. The passengers had vented their frustration by attempting to attack the engineer at the Ragama and Gampaha railway stations.
They surrounded the engine from both sides and attempted to assault me. They were shouting in slang. It was as if we were arrested. We informed the railway's controller and he brought us to Ragama. The police arrived at the scene, but even they were unable to contain the situation. Then we went to the Gampaha railway station, but the police couldn't arrest them there as well.
Meanwhile, the night train on the Colombo-Puttalam line was also delayed last night as a result of a technical fault. A group of passengers on the Mahawa-Colombo train yesterday had attacked the engineer of the train, claiming he was operating the train in an ad hoc manner. As a result of major delays being caused owing to locomotive engineers deciding to engage in a token union action by adhering to stringent safety rules, passengers have attempted to attack engineers on prior occasions.
ඒගොල්ලන් රැකියාව ලැබෙන්නේ අපි නිසා. අපිට සේවය කරන්න. නමුත් ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට කරදර කරන්න මේ අපි ඉන්නවා කියලා. අපි හැමදාම අතරමඟ. මේක අද වෙලාවට આવොත් ආයි දවස් 5කට හැරයක් ලේට්.
මේක ඉතින් සාමාන්‍ය සිරිතක්නේ හැම ප්‍රමාද වෙනවයි කියන එක මේකේ වගකීම් යුතු බලධාරීන් දුම්රිය ස්ථාන වලට ඇවිල්ලා නිරීක්ෂණය කරන්න යන්නේ මේ ප්‍රමාදය ගැන. කවදාවත් දැකලා නැහැ අපි. මම අවුරුදු 21ක් තිස්සේ කෝච්චිය යන්නේ.
මේක නම් ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩක්ම බැලෑරුම් ප්‍රශ්නයක් බැනුම් අහනවා සමහර වෙලාවල් වලට මේ ඉහළ නිලධාරීන්ගෙන් ඒ අය එන්නේ ඉතින් වාහනවල නිසා එයාට මේක දැනෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. ගෙදර යනකොට ගෙදරත් ඉතින් මේ ගොඩක් ප්‍රශ්න
අපේ කලර් ලයිට් සිග්නල්ස් වලයි සෙමෆෝර් සිග්නල්ස් වලයි ඕනතරම් අඩුපාඩුකම් තියෙනවා.
There are numerous shortcomings with our signal system, but in spite of these shortcomings, we operate the trains keeping in mind that we must provide this service. So we do it on behalf of the department and the country. Thereby, it would be best if the administrators show some enthusiasm and take a just decision instead of chasing after us when there is a minor mistake on our part. Solutions have been provided to technical faults, faults in the signal system, faults with the tracks and other faults that have arisen. Thereby, it is the responsibility of all of us to ensure that such a situation does not arise in the future. Instead of taking the law into your own hands, you must cooperate to ensure that a proper service is provided. Although we asked for security, they took no steps to provide such security. As a byproduct of this, the blame for the delay of the night mail train was placed on the engineer, even though there was no fault on his part. We hope that the Railways Department will provide us with sufficient security. The passengers and the railway department are working together with cooperation. What has happened is a rare occurrence. There were no incidents reported today. There was no need to provide security. If they ask us for security, we will provide it.
It is important that both the train drivers and the commuters have a good relationship. We are saddened that such situations have arisen. If requested, we are ready to provide security for trains. However, we are not able to provide personal bodyguards.
Meanwhile, in the latest development in this saga, the Department of Railways has said that leave has been cancelled for all electric power set drivers with immediate effect. The department calls on all engineers who have not reported to work to do so immediately. The Railway Control Room adds that all engineers who fail to report to work must produce a medical certificate endorsed by the state.
Well, in cricket news, a 20-ball 49 by Thisara Perera and some death bowling by skipper Lasith Malinga secured Sri Lanka a 9-wicket win over the English in the only T20 international between the two sides, played at the Kennington Oval in London.
Invited to bat first, Sri Lanka got off to a shaky start with TM Dilshan and Kusal Perera at the crease. Dilshan and Kusal were however dismissed in the third and fourth overs respectively, with the scorecard reading 24. Kethuwan Vithanage and Lahil Thirimanne brought back some life to the Lankan lineup with blows to all corners of the oval. Sri Lanka however went on to lose wickets at regular intervals, which brought in hard-hitting all-rounder Thisara Perera. Perera hammered 49 off just 20 deliveries with 7 drives to the fence and 2 over the boundary. Sri Lanka posted 183 runs for the loss of 7 in their 20 overs. Chasing 184 to win, the English got off on the back foot, losing Michael Carberry in the second over. A resilient knock from Alex Hales could not prevent England from slipping into a 9-run defeat against Sri Lanka. Hales top scored for the hosts with 66, while Lasith Malinga bagged 3 wickets for 28.
Moving into boxing now, the quarterfinals of Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first reality sports TV program, will be held on the 1st of June at the Golf Fort. 32 contenders will participate in the quarterfinals in 4 weight classes. The third round of Super Fighter ended on Monday in Pannala, with successful contenders advancing to the quarterfinals. The quarterfinalists will participate at a residential training camp in Koggala from the 24th of this month to the 1st of June. They will participate in numerous training activities which will take them outside the confines of the boxing ring and test their endurance as well. Super Fighter is a joint initiative of MAS Holdings, Newsfirst, MTV and NBC.
And now Shahin Jurampati filed this report earlier in the day on the weather.
Good evening and welcome to Weather First here on Newsfirst. I'm Shahin Jurampati. Let's take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours and the prevailing weather conditions across the island. Now, according to the Department of Meteorology, the southwest monsoonal conditions are developing over the island. Therefore, showers are expected at times over the western, southern, Saburagamuwa and central provinces. Now, the department adds that thunder showers are also expected at times in a few places in the Uva and eastern provinces during the afternoons or evenings. Now, fairly strong winds are also expected at times along the western slopes of the central hills, and there may be temporary localized fairly strong winds during showers in certain parts of the island. Now, the department added that the highest temperatures were recorded in Trincomalee with 34.5 degrees Celsius, while the lowest temperatures were recorded in Nore Elia with 19 degrees Celsius. Now, with that, let's take a quick look at the city-by-city weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Prime Time News. It's a pleasure having you with us. For the News First team, I'm Minoshi Ratnasekara.
And I'm Madhushka Balasurya. Have a very good evening. Thanks.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.
MTVSports News First, brought to you by